I am. Okay. Okay. Everybody, wait. We got Howard, Jerry, and Ray who are on. Well, he'll turn it on if he's said something. Oh. Huh? Yeah, he can hear. He's just not on to talk. Anyway, everybody make sure you got your sound on or your microphone on. And does everybody have the handout? It's the same handout as last week. I got a couple more up here. Okay. Then let us begin. You know, last week we got into, we got in about the rainbow, and I know it went on for, quite some time. But the point that Ray brought, and I think I was misunderstanding Ray, and I talked to Ray after this also, is I think he was conflating two people that he listened to. Okay. And so when he got into somebody, if you remember, somebody was talking about the rainbow and when did it switch from bow to rainbow, and was it a battle bow? What exactly was it? And then he said about the guy he listened to was trying to say, yeah, and here the culture has stolen the rainbow, the LGBT pride stuff and all that. They've stolen the rainbow. And so I told him, hey, he had some other stuff. I go, well, send me what you listened to. And because whatever direction he was talking about the people that he talked about, they were going in the wrong direction. But I did look into it. And a lot of people talk about it was called a bow, and that they apply it to God's battle bow, that God used to use his bow when he was angry at people, and that he hung up his bow. Okay, and he wasn't going to be angry with people anymore. And I had said, I'll have to go back and I'll read, because I read the Jewish scholars on some of their stuff, because once people start to apply it to Jesus, sometimes it gets a little wonky. So the guy that he did send me, he had talked about, yeah, it was a bow, like an archer's bow. He said, but it's not aimed at us, it's aimed at heaven. And he said, if God was mad and shot an arrow, it would go up to where Jesus lives and it would hit Jesus, like he'd take his anger out on Jesus. Although none of the text says that. Yeah, and it could be true, but I'm saying none of the text says that, so people speculate on that. What I did look further into was that, wait. So the older versions, some of the older versions of the Bible say bow, and a whole bunch of them say rainbow. And so when it changed, we don't know. I mean, what changed in language? But I did look, rainbow is addressed in the book of Ezekiel, I think in the first chapter, and it's around the throne of God, and it talks about the rainbow. So I looked at that, and I looked at every translation, and every translation there says rainbow, and that's Old Testament, and it says rainbow. And then there's two applications in Revelation. I think in Revelation 1 and in Revelation 4. And there, now the word for rainbow in the New Testament in Greek is it iris? I think it's iris. It starts with an I know that. Anyway, but all the translations there say rainbow. But they're getting a little bit more modern. People are used to seeing the rainbow. So, and nowhere does anybody ever depict the bow as you look into the sky and you see anything like a battle bow, like that. So it could just be, we have words that have different meanings, same word, using for different, and it would be the same thing there. You got to go by the context of what they're, if it said the king took out his bow, you wouldn't picture he took out a rainbow, okay? He took out a archer's bow. It's the same way. You have to go by, by the context. So, okay, enough of that. Yeah. Huh?
Maybe it was Carol Burnett. Remember the bow she wore?
A bow?
The curtain bow.
Oh, well, no. That could be. It could have been God's bow tie, or or a present bow, like that. But then when we say that, we get just as ridiculous and stuff like that. All we can say is that there's a sign in the sky. Now, we all know by just experience, you go outside and after it rains, you see a rainbow. And then the other thing is with the rainbow could have been special after the flood, in that the atmosphere changed, because you got the waters from above all coming down. So maybe there's more moisture in the air, less moisture in the air. I mean, I dropped out of physics and all that when I was in the third grade. Well, we all went outside after last class and checked just to make sure there wasn't a rainbow out there in that 118-degree weather. Like that. Who had a hand up? Andy, got to do your microphone.
Any chance that bow could be mistaken for bow? For
No,
example,
you
bowing down to the Lord.
You got to remember, it's a Hebrew word. It's not English, so it's not bow in Hebrew.
Not the same spelling.
Well, it's not even the same letters, because they use those funny letters. I'm just saying it's from a different language, and we've translated it, to, the King James people took just to take bow, and other translations took to say bow, but they may have been influenced by the King James also, not translating from the King James, but knowing that that's what the, King James said. So maybe that's, like that. That's difficulty in translations, is we think, our first thought will go to why one, why the other. Well, because it came from the same word and they had to pick a word, and language changes, not in that case, it's not going to, but language changes. And so you do things. Okay. Deacon Dennis. You had your microphone up to your face.
It's a bow formed by moisture and the
Right.
sun. It's God's sign saying, hey guys, I ain't going to do this again.
Right.
Next time you're going to get hot and burned.
Yeah. And you got to remember, whatever it is, it's God. This is important. It's God restraining himself. It's not like Noah proved something to him, because even if you look at that imagery of an archer's bow, it's like, if you say God hung up his bow, it's like every time he gets mad at man and he starts to reach for the bow, because he says in there, when I see the bow, let it be a reminder to you. It's a reminder to him too. I mean, if we're going to, do anthropomorph, how come I can't say it? Make human qualities to God like the Bible does. We would say, yeah, he gets mad, grab for my bow. Oh yeah, I see it hanging there. I can't do that. So what's that?
He'll remember.
No. He says in there, he says he will remember. It's for his reminder. It's for our joy that he put it there to remind himself, but it's not a reminder us say, hey, praise Noah. Yeah.
The Bible says
Do your microphone thing. Well, that was a quick one. For those online, she's trying to remember her thought.
there so that we would remember the flood.
Yeah. But he's got it there because he says that he will look at the bow. It's teamwork. That's what it is. It's teamwork. So he said, we'll just read through the rest of that part. It says in God, in verse 12, he says, "This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud. It shall be for a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. It shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth that the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember see, this is the part. I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. The rainbow shall be in the cloud, and I will look on it to remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature." See, so it's that transaction where he's telling us, I got the rainbow there, so I won't do it. You know, it restrains me. You can look at the rainbow and know that I'm restrained. You know, that's at least that's the way I look at it.
And blew a tie out of the string around his finger.
Yeah, that's what it would be like. And God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth." So this covenant was made with the whole earth. And what's the covenant?
No more flooding.
No more flooding. Okay. Okay.
But they didn't trust him.
Pardon?
They didn't trust him. In one of my studies, that Nimrod built the Tower of Babel and made it watertight, so in case he decided to flood it, they could take shelter.
We'll get to that because again, that's what, and we'll get to that in next chapter, you know, in the Tower of Babel. But it doesn't say that, you know, and that's where you have to be careful. If it doesn't, if it doesn't say it,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
I mean, you know, in fact, when we get a little bit further in the chapter and it talks about the sin of Ham and the curse on his fourth son, Canaan, you know, Ray sent me a video of a guy, you know, and, you know, and the guy practically says, you know, I don't have anything that says this, you know, but here's the options and this is what I think, you know, but I don't have anything. And he says, but people want to know and people keep asking. He goes, we keep asking. And I wanted to shout into the video, well, that's sin on your part. It's sin on your part to try to get into the mind of God. And it is sin. You know, I mean, Luther talks about that in the Heidelberg, what is it? The Heidelberg Confession, the Heidelberg Disputation. And he talks about the theology of the cross and the theology of glory. And when we've got questions, we look to the cross. Our answer was a dead Christ on the cross. And he talks about the theology of glory. And that's where we think that we can get into the mind of God. And that's where we come up with, well, surely we must be doing what God wants us to do, because look how our church has grown. And that doesn't say anything about whether you're in God's will or, you know, or people that say, I must not be in God's will because my church is small. And maybe your church is small because you're preaching the truth. And people don't want to. So it's sin when people try to get into, you know, when people try to get into the mind of God and what God's doing. You take the text, you read it, you maybe look cross-text, you know, cross-reference and see if it talks about stuff elsewhere. And if you find something, fine. But if you don't, you just say, amen. And, you know, and move on.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, just so you know, Ray, I didn't like that guy. I watched about half of them.
He was a lot of speculation and circumstantial evidence that, in essence, he's saying, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so many people do it. People write books. Not only do people write books and people buy their books because it sounds interesting. You know, I've never heard that before. I think I'm going to look into that. you know,
Right in the book.
which isn't bad in itself, but it's like if you're always looking for something new because you're bored with what, you know, you've heard, that doesn't it doesn't do it. Yeah, I've gotten your notes. I see the other mentions of a rainbow in the biblical are in the context of God's enthroned glory. And that's where I was talking about Ezekiel and Revelation, where it does talk about, you know, about rainbow. You know, I want to back up for a minute. When we were talking about before that part where he was talking about death penalties, you know, if you shed man's blood, buy man's blood and all that, and we talked about innocent life and that. Bud brought up a point last week. He came up and he was talking to me and he said, what about the Enola Gay? You know, that was the plane that dropped the bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. You know, what about those people? You know, I think your question was pretty much, is there blood on their hands for what they did, since so much of the death and destruction was on civilian, you know, populations, you know, like that. What did they know? And, you know, this becomes pertinent because that new movie's out on Oppenheimer, you know, and that was his gift to the world, you know. But you know, and I don't have an answer for it, but it is something to think about. You know, what did the people think? Now, there was good to doing it. There was good to doing it because it's either kill 1 million of them or have 1 million more Americans die in the war. I mean, you know, and war is a nasty thing. There's no real good side, bad side to it. It's just total, you know, destruction. But what did the individuals, you know, the people that were dropping the bomb, I don't know if it was a volunteer mission or, you know what, you know, I remember back in the Vietnam War, you know, we had conscientious objectors. I mean, our people, see, that's where most sin is going against your conscience, you know, is not so much the right and wrong. It's if you think something's wrong and you still do it, you know, like that. So, you know, so when God's talking about shedding man's blood, that gets pretty dicey. And there's probably no answer to it, but it is something to think about as we do things, or as a society, as we vote to do things. You know, are we voting to really bring unneeded harm on other people? And are we accountable? How are we accountable for that? Were you going to say something first, or do your microphone?
What I was gonna say is, Stevens, you know, he dropped the bomb and maybe one guy is a believer. Well, because he's a believer, he's gonna go to heaven even though he dropped that bomb. Because God doesn't pass judgment. If you're saved, you're saved forever.
Wow. I mean, that's a whole different, that's a whole different issue, but he is, especially if it's a volunteer thing, he is violating his conscience. Like I say, I would never pass judgment on any of those guys for what they, you know, for what they did. But I'm just saying, we need to think about, we probably need to take that verse about shedding blood, just making it to be causing harm, undue harm to other people. And again, like I say, because we live in a free society where we get to vote. Back in the Bible times, they didn't. Nobody asked their opinion. It was just in their own personal transactions, you know. But here we vote for people that vote on things, and they could be horrendous things that they, you know, that they vote on. You're going to say something?
I was just gonna say, we're told to obey your government. So if you're drafted, you go.
Right. No, but that's why I said if it was a volunteer mission, you know, and like I said, and even if it was volunteer, I'm not going to cast any, you know, blame on them like that. But yeah. Yeah. Well, you obey your government unless the government's telling you to do something that you know God would have you not do, like that. Wait, Andy, and then Dennis. Do your microphone. Yeah. The light may go out, but if it was on, it's probably on. Can you guys hear Andy? Talk, Andy, and right into it.
Sporadic.
Hello?
Do you hear Andy?
Kind of sporadic,
I couldn't hear what you.
broken up.
Okay, he says you're broken up. Anyway, go ahead and talk. Well, he was using it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to go too far, into all I'm saying is we need to consider what our thought. But I remember when I was going through basic training and you do that thing where you're crawling under the barbed wire and they're shooting the machine guns over your head. And I stopped to think, I go, they're training me to kill people,
Duh.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was a hippie college student. I mean, come on, I wasn't made for.
You were
I
a
wasn't.
liberal.
That's right. I wasn't. I thought about it, but I was married, and Janet's dad was a major in the Air Force, and Anyway, Deborah, I want Deborah to talk because Deborah's here.
Yeah. He said, we live in a free country so far,
Well,
and what I say is that if all of us Christians don't unite, it may not be that way.
yeah.
And that's why I go around when I talk to people, especially Christians, we talk about how important it is, to keep our government free, because sometimes the way it's going, we could be in anarchy at any time.
Yeah. But we're still, no matter what we consider the problems and the issues, and probably half the class would be on one side and half would be on the other, is that no matter what we consider, we're still a free country. You can still gather your troops to fight against whatever you think the injustice is, and I can do mine, and we can get meetings and we can vote and, and stuff like that. All I'm saying is back then they couldn't. Dennis, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, and those who bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, if the historians are accurate on this, and I feel like they are, everybody who was on those ships or those planes knew what they were going to be doing. They knew what the outcome could be, and they were there. This was a war. Let's stop this war.
I'm just, like I say, I'm
Stop
sure
the war.
Yeah.
We've got to do it.
Yeah, no. There was reason. Well, let's put it this way. I caused my own trouble here. Let's put it this way. They knew what they were doing based on what the government told them was the right thing to do. And I don't know, maybe we trusted the government more back then. I wasn't around.
We did.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So anyway, I just wanted to answer to Bud's point, because that is a part of what does that mean to shed man's blood? You're going to have God requiring something of you. By the way, Bud was born on the day that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, right? Hiroshima, what'd I say? Oh, on Hiroshima, because they were different, right? When Hiroshima, talk about coming in with a bang. That's our Bud, he did. Right. No. Like I say, war is a terrible, is a terrible thing. Like that. So, yeah. And hey, and it's been around for a long time. So, okay. So, let's see. Where am I right now?
18.
Yes. What'd you say?
18. The
Verse
sons of
8?
Noah?
Oh, on verse, hang on, let me see where I am. Okay, verse 18, where I gotta find my 18. Hang on. What's,
Page 4.
I don't know if your pages are the same as mine. Show me your page 4. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, yeah. So, so it gets into the whole part about, oh, why am I losing my train of thought? About the shedding of the blood and all that, that there is a death penalty for, for doing that. Okay, so 18 is, well, before we get to 18, I know, I was talking about the covenant. Okay, that's where it was. I was talking about, God made a covenant. And so what is God's covenant, or what are the covenants that God has made? And do I have on your thing the 7 laws of Noah? Did I put that in your note? Yeah. Okay, so God has been making covenants all along with his people. Okay, I'm in a discussion. I just ordered and just got it yesterday. It's a book called Why Jews Aren't Christians. Okay, and it's written by this rabbi in Jerusalem. And what he's trying to explain is, what's wrong with you Christians? Here's why Jews aren't Christians, And he writes in a very polemic way. I mean, he doesn't hold punches back. He doesn't try to make nice. I mean, I'm through 2 chapters so far. Christians are anti-Semitic, idolaters. And he points out in the Talmud that it says that Jesus is boiling in a pot of excrement. So it's not like he's trying to make nice and all that, but that wasn't my point. My point was, I was talking to this lady online because they have a website. They had on Facebook, I think they've taken it down now, a website talking about it and stuff like that. And she was saying that the Jewish people, she goes, God, it was a pagan world before Abraham, and God started making his covenant, Jewish covenant with the Jewish people with Abraham. And so I was trying to explain to her, no, that's not the way God's always had his people. Abraham, the other A guy, Adam, and he made covenants with Adam, don't eat from the tree, you can eat from all this other stuff, those kind of covenants. He had covenant here with Noah. He had covenants after, not covenants, but he maintained the covenants, afterwards, as we'll see. And I was trying to explain to her, I mean, the Jewish people started with Abraham, but the people of God started before started before Abraham. So you got these 7 laws, these 7 laws of Noah. Who's dying there? Okay.
Jerry's coughing. It's
Okay. Anyway, so the 7 laws are, and I'll talk about them in just a second. The 7 laws are, the 7 laws were given to mankind. Okay. They were given to mankind for all mankind. Okay. And then when God started making particular covenants with the Jews, he expanded on these, but he doesn't expect the non-Jews to be involved in those covenants. You have your own 7 laws. Okay. So you have them listed there. Do not deny God. Do not murder. Do not steal. Do not engage in sexual immorality. Do not blaspheme. Do not eat of a live animal, which is no eating of flesh taken from an animal while it's still alive, and establish courts and a legal system to ensure obedience to these laws. Okay? And those are the 7 laws for all mankind to. Now, the Jews have how many laws?
10.
613. Like that. So, yeah, so it's expanded Of which, you want me to list them? No, no, when you read in, Leviticus and some of those other places, and it, says don't sleep with your, your mother-in-law or something, that's one of the laws. I mean, what's that? 613. Oh, yeah. So, but you talk to Jewish people and they say, yeah, but we have 613 laws that we have to abide by. I go, how many can you name? They don't even know what they are. I say that with Christians too, when they are people who want to play around with Christianity and they're arguing with, and they say, well, I live by the 10 Commandments. And I go, you do? Can you name them? Yeah, thou shalt not steal.
Hey, Gene.
Gene, right.
It says that the laws are 613 commandments, 248 are positive and 365 are negative,
Yeah.
which equals 613.
Okay, good.
But I don't have them written down.
Okay, yeah. No, but if you ever run into someone says, yeah, well, I don't need to go to church and I don't need that Christian. I live by the 10 Commandments. And you say, can you name them? And what they'll do is they can name the societal ones not to do, not to murder, not to steal, not to lie, not to commit adultery, not to covet. Am I missing one? Anyway, but they'll never think of the ones of, you shall worship no other gods, you'll make no graven images, you'll do no, take the Lord's name in vain, honor your mother and father. I bet you none of them remember that, honor your mother and father, stuff. So.
And they don't know that one.
Yeah. Well, that's okay, because nobody does that one. I know they don't, people say, well, yeah, but I don't have to follow all those commandments because Jesus gave the commandments. He reduced it to 2: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Well, who got up and helped their neighbor shower this morning or fed the neighbor breakfast? Because we all did that to ourselves, and who's loved the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul? I can't think of a time that I have, because I'm sure that any time that I did, I could look back and figure out that I was really kind of doing it for myself. What a good boy am I, God. You're glad to have me. Or you should be glad to have me. What are you going to say, Dennis?
There's some of their laws. The morality police in Iran are at it again now with how the women are dressed. They have all sorts of laws that relate to that, and they have a police force who enforce it.
Yeah.
The morality police, and it's incredible. You couldn't walk down the street and be within the law at any given time, I'm sure.
Yeah. We love the law. We love the law. Even we love the law. Pastor, today's message, tell me what to do so I know how to please God. I want the law. Your message was right on today when you said that you did it from a gospel standpoint. That's what all messages should be, is here, I'll give you the law part of it, but here's where you end up is with the gospel part of it. What did you say? God wants, you were talking about the field of dreams, but you called it something else, the field of something. I forget what it was.
Yes, high hopes.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where, but we love the law. Because like I say, if I can leave today and I've got at least 3 things written down that'll keep me on the path to pleasing God, I guarantee you by Tuesday, I've already broken them. Like that, because we just can't do that. So anyway, so these laws, now here's the things, you won't, the only one of these laws that you're really going to find in the Bible is going to be the one we just talked about, the do not eat of a live animal, or don't eat from the limb of a live. I don't know, was that a problem? I mean, people would see a goat walking by and you'd reach down and start chomping on his leg while he was walking, I don't know. But anyway, where you find the other ones are in the commentaries, in the Jewish commentaries on the text that you find in Adam Even they've brought, because you gotta remember, this was all oral testimony, in the first place. And so what they're saying is something that we would have a hard time. I'm sure that you can find someone, I just didn't look for it, is someone who will say, this is what it means, and this is the verses that we're attaching it to, even though those verses don't say exactly, exactly that. So,
When they call it, Gene,
yeah,
when they call them the laws of Noah, it sounds like they're saying that Noah wrote these laws instead of saying that these laws were handed down to him from God, and they're
Right.
God's laws, not Noah's laws.
right. Yeah, it's just a name we apply to them. I mean, there is no biblical listing of these that say the laws of Noah. Now, you might have a heading in your Bible, but those are all man-made, headings before a certain section. So,
Okay.
so anyway, so he's setting out these new laws. Here, you get off the ark. Remember, he got off the ark last chapter. He built an altar, made sacrifice, praised God. They got off, and then they're getting the animals off the ark. And then God says, look, let me tell you about this covenant I'm making. And, you do that. And then you get into, now here's some new laws. I mean, the laws are, the shedding of blood, but he also, one of those is setting up courts so that people are handled right. So now if we go into verse 18, okay, this is where it gets strange. Okay. Now the sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ham was the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was populated. So, the sons of Noah who were on the ark, were those three, and they were his son. Think about when they came off the ark, what their thought is. I mean, here you're like in Eden again. I wonder if there was noticeable difference from what the world was like when the flood started to walking. I mean, was the sun brighter and, what it was like?
The first thing they're gonna notice, the ground is still moving.
Yeah.
As you get off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but remember, the population of the whole earth comes from Noah and his family, from the three sons of Noah. Were you the one that sent me the message from the YouTube channel about the post that the guy made? There's something missing on it. A guy made a post on one of the YouTubes, that I post on our webpage, and he was going off onto who the mighty men were, and he was trying to relate it to later parts of the Bible. I have no idea who this guy was, like that. He's Leon, and he doesn't write very well. But so I just sent a note back to him, and I said, are you trying to say that there's people who survived the flood, and went into other generations? I go, because he'd have to be a darn good swimmer. And I left it at that. And then Lowell sent, because he's the admin for the YouTube page. And so he said, hey, you got these other messages on there. I don't know what they are. I couldn't make sense. He had like a half a dozen other messages on there. Couldn't make heads or tails, of them. But the point being is that we all come from Japheth, Ham, and whoever the other one was, I forgot already. Shem, like that. And there wasn't leftover people, who they came from.
Hey, Gene?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you happen to know what their order was? Was it Shem, Ham, and Japheth by age, or do we know that at all?
We don't know. And that's where that speculation comes in. This is an inside conversation between me and Ray from some of these videos of people trying to figure out why Canaan got cursed. And then they're going on, well, what was the order? I go by what it says, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, you know? And I just go by that because how would you know? Well, I shouldn't say that because some of these guys we watch will tell you how you would know, and you don't, you know, and you don't know. Yeah.
No matter what, we still have a sin nature getting off of the boat.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, no, it didn't, it wiped, it saved us from our sin. And that's what baptism does. Baptism doesn't make you sinless. It doesn't even really, I mean, it doesn't make so like your past sins were never there. What it is God's not going to remember your past sins. What you get in baptism is you get away from the consequence of your sin. Okay? And so these people, they were saved through the waters, like being saved through baptism, and they come out, but they're still the same people. You know, now hopefully they were more righteous and that's why they were saved, you know, and I don't know what maybe they did prayer sessions and Bible studies on the ark for the year. I don't, you don't know what they did, but yeah, that's the thing. And they get off of the ark and, well, we're going to see here. And it says in verse 20, and Noah began to be a farmer and he planted a vineyard. Then he drank of the wine and was drunk and became uncovered in his tent. You know, you don't know what that time period is. Now, maybe because everything was new, maybe those vineyards grew up in 2 weeks. I mean, you don't know. You just don't.
One thing that I missed is how did we get all the races out of those three guys?
Well,
You're gonna get to that?
Well, I wasn't going to, but I will. No, I'll do it next week when we do the Table of Nations. Okay, yeah, because the whole chapter is just listing the people, so that'd be a good place to, you know, to put it. It's not that big of a mystery. I mean, it's a question we ask, but it's not that big of a. Anyway, so he got drunk, and it says he became uncovered, and that seems to be kind of the linchpin of the story that we're going to go into. I think uncovered means naked, you know, he became naked. Drunk, became uncovered. And Ham, I'm just going to read through the rest of this, okay? Then we'll talk about it. And Ham, the father of Canaan, you know, see, it's mentioned Canaan twice. He hadn't had Canaan yet. They just got off the ark. I don't think they have any kids on the ark. Canaan's going to be his fourth son, but that's the second time now he said, and Ham was the father of Canaan. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both of their shoulders, and went backward, covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. Okay, so let's picture it. You know, the old man grows the vineyard, ferments the wine, says, hey, this is really good, gets drunk, probably, I don't know, maybe got naked, danced around a little bit, I don't know, but he ends up on, say, the ground, you know, naked. Ham comes in and sees him. That's all we know from the text. Ham comes in and sees him, goes out and tells his brothers. His brothers take a blanket and they put it on each of their shoulders and they walk backwards and they cover their father. Okay, that's the story. Okay, then it says, so Noah, this is verse 24. So Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. Then he said, cursed be Canaan, remember that's Ham's son, a servant of servants he shall be to his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and may he dwell in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. So now, okay, so from the text, what we get is that Noah wakes up. I want to get this part clear from the text, because then the stories, the people, their commentaries get wild, okay? Okay, I just want you to know what the text says, or that you got that embedded in your head. They woke up from the wine and knew that his younger son, what he had done to him. Okay, somehow he knew something happened, like that, because he just wakes up. And then he curses Canaan, which is his fourth son, it's Ham's fourth son. He didn't curse Ham. Whatever people want to say Ham did, Ham doesn't get the curse. Canaan, what's that?
No, it's not.
Well,
We're getting in trouble.
well, no. He carries his own share. That's what I said. They get off the ark and they're all sinners still. Okay, but even the getting drunk and laying naked on the ground, probably right there probably isn't sin. He probably should have locked his bedroom door, like that. So I don't know. But anyway, but the point is that, oh, and here's the thing. When it says, then he said, cursed be Canaan, those are the first words that are recorded of Noah speaking. In all of the stuff that we've done from end of chapter 5, all of chapter 6, 7, 8, into 9, and all of a sudden we hear something from Noah. We don't have Noah singing row, row, row your boat or anything. What's that? What'd you say, Ray? I'm frozen. They're frozen. No. It's since they're all frozen, it's probably on our end. If one of the,
You're back on.
okay. Anyway, we don't hear Noah singing row, row, row your boat or anything while they're in the boat. Hadn't said anything. What's that?
I'm confused why he's cursing Canaan.
Well, everybody's confused. Why is he cursing Canaan? No, that was Ham. That was Canaan's dad. Why didn't he? Now,
He wanted him and the generations to come be.
First Ham, he cursed Canaan.
yeah, no. That's the thing. So let's just go on. Then we'll circle back to it. Okay. We're talking to your microphone though. Yeah. Okay. Anybody online besides Ray? Because Ray knows the answer. Well, Ray thinks he knows the answer, but no. I just want to make sure that Howard or Jerry have anything to say, or if you've heard stories, this is the thing to, huh? Yeah. So it gets strange. So I've got, I don't know how much I got in your notes here. Is like, what's happening here? Verse 19, from these, the whole earth was populated. That's evident. Noah became a farmer, planted a vineyard, got drunk and naked. Then in 22, we have Ham's actions, which as far as we know, he walked in, saw his dad naked. Yeah. Now, he may have thought that that's funny, dad's drunk, dad's naked, and runs out and tells his brothers, and he's not being respectful to his dad. I mean, that's, well, he could have done that, but it doesn't say, but we can assume, that's what it is. And then we see Shem and Japheth's action, that they know that Ham did something wrong. They know that dad's in a compromised situation. Ham did something wrong. He didn't treat it respectfully. And so they do it. They go in backwards to cover him up. And then they get blessings for that. Where people have a problem is that it says that Noah realized what Ham had done to him. I mean, how would you, if it was just that he made fun of his dad being naked, how would Noah know that? Yeah. So then, so people speculate, okay, he molested his dad. you know? They did something. Now, the things that I've heard as far as that goes is that that would be a power play. Like he's trying to take power from his, from his dad. And that could be, but it doesn't, and it doesn't say. And it doesn't seem like if that was the thing, it doesn't seem like that's what he'd go out and tell his brothers. I think his brothers would probably pop him in the nose and say, no, you can't do that. Well,
And Ham is the younger son.
what order are they in? That's what Shem, Ham, and Japheth. We don't know the order of them. Also we
Noah
know.
awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him.
Yeah.
Ham saw him, but I'm always led to believe that he was the middle kid.
Well, it says younger. It doesn't say youngest. It just says younger son.
Oh, okay.
Well, we don't know. I mean, all I can go is by with the order. Like if I name my kids, I go Stephanie, Jeff, Chris, from the oldest to the youngest. I can't. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I did that. I own it too. But
Yeah. So don't know. So it could have been that power play. Other people have said that says that he what did it say? It said they covered his nakedness. Here had become uncovered in his tent. And they talk about, well, and I hadn't looked this up. They said, other places in the Bible, when it says you uncover someone's nakedness, you're talking about it's a sexual thing between like the husband and the wife. And then people will say, well, no. So Ham had sexual relations with his mother. And then other people go on. I just want to give you the full line of stories here. But you got to realize it doesn't say anywhere. Others say so he had sexual relations with his mother and that Canaan was the offspring of the mother. Who knows? I'm just saying it's a strange. Is that a strange?
Read too much.
Is that well? No, but is that a strange story? I mean, even without any of the explanations I've given, isn't that a strange story? I mean, it's like, go ahead, do your phone. Yeah.
How come,
Get your microphone closer.
may God and Japheth, and may he dwell in the tent of Shem? How come he didn't have his own group?
Maybe he's setting up a family order based on age or something like that. I don't think that Japheth is, I think because he's given such honor to Shem, that it's like Shem's to share with Japheth. I would take it as that. May God enlarge Japheth and may he dwell in the tents of Shem. Yeah. So maybe it's like the Kennedy compound on Cape Cod. Well, no, because, old man Joe, he had the main house. And then as his kids got married, he built houses for them. So that would be so-and-so living in the mansions of, someone. We don't know. I just want you to know what the story says, to be clear about the story. And here's the important part. And to be clear that it says nothing about anything else you might hear that would be outside of this. So it's just pure speculation. The moral of the story may be that Canaan got cursed for a reason, and that's why they're the troublemakers down the road. And that's why God sends Israel in to wipe out all of Canaan. So it may just be a story that God put in there, a story that happened, but he put it in there so that people won't have to wonder why, what's all this stuff about, what's all this stuff about Canaan? I can't get this off. Does that make sense? I made that up. I mean, I didn't know. I did like the others. I made that up to explain, well, maybe he's doing it to explain, why Canaan was so bad and why they got what they deserved. But I don't know. What's that?
The one, hey, Gene,
Wait, Ray, hang on.
okay.
Yeah, but I didn't read anything. I'm just speculating. I'm not interpreting. I'm just speculating. I just said maybe this is what we don't, but I want you all to know we don't know anything other than what the text says. And I'll tell you that that there's nothing in the other texts of the Bible that goes back and addresses this. You know, so it's not like someone would say, well, yeah, but if you read in Numbers or you read in Hosea, you know, this, that's, you know, that's kind of the, maybe that's the same. It's not. Okay.
There's no cross-reference notes when you look through.
Well,
Study.
if there's, I didn't. I mean, I know, I just know from knowing. My knower knows. Don't you guys know stuff because your knower knows? No. Okay, I just know that there's not. Now, if I read cross references in the Bible, they're going to do just what I said. They're going to take you to a passage that's pretty much saying it mentioned Noah or it mentioned Ham. So therefore, whatever it's saying must be, and it doesn't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be. So, well, let's move on, then we'll finish up. So we got those, the last two verses, and it says, and Noah lived after the flood 350 years. Now, this is important. Noah lives 500 years. You don't know squat about Noah, right? Then the action gets heavy. And for the next 100 years, we know about Noah. But Noah's not talking. You know, it's not like Noah gets on his soapbox and we have these great doctrines or theologies or personal experiences with God from Noah. And that's why Noah's a great man, because of what Noah did and what Noah said and what Noah wrote. We get none of that except for this verse, you know, this verse here. And then it says after that incident, he lived 350 years, and we don't hear another word about Noah for those 350 years. Except for those two. And then verse 29 is the great line out of the genealogies, out of all the genealogies. So all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. And everybody in the genealogies, you know, lived this many years, had this kid when he was this old, lived another X amount of years, and then he died. You know, and so Noah's no different, you know, from them. Yeah. And
Hey, Gene,
wait, I'm sorry, Ray?
yeah, do we, I guess, do we place any value on the fact that the curse on Canaan came from Noah,
And not
but
from
then
God?
the blessing of the Lord, of the God of Shem and Ham, or Ham and Japheth, that the curse is from Noah,
Yeah.
but the
I mean,
blessing,
that is one thing. It's not God cursing Canaan, it's Noah cursing Canaan, you know. And I don't know the meaning of that. I mean, that,
you
you
know, I
know,
haven't found anything either.
yeah, no, it just, you know, it just says it. We just need to read it, kind of digest it, and move on. You know, that's all you can do. Because that's what God does. You know, that's what God does in the story. Like I say, Noah's a great man, but Noah lived 500 years before anybody knew that you even existed. You know, and then he lived another 350 and nobody heard from him, because the story's not about Noah. The story's about God. And that's what the Bible's about. It's about how God deals with his people, how he deals with humankind, but in particular, how he deals with his people. Because remember, in Genesis, excuse me, in Genesis 3:15, we got that thing about, you know, your seed will crush the head of his seed and all that. And that starts that messianic line, that messianic terminology. And that's what the Bible is just trying to follow that you know, that what they call the red thread that runs through, you know, the whole Bible. And then what you have are stories of Satan trying to attack that. I mean, you can go through the whole Bible and see the different places where Satan tried to cut off that line. You know, I mean, it's in the Old Testament, it's in the New Testament. You know, when Moses is born, you know, like that, Pharaoh says to kill all the babies, you know, and Moses escapes in his little motorboat, you know, down the river. You see it with Herod in Matthew, you know, where to slaughter all the children, you know, but Joseph takes Jesus out. But I mean, there's all kinds of examples of that throughout the scripture. So, any last questions? Then we're done. We're going to, we'll do 10. I'm sorry, we'll do 10 next week, and we'll probably do at least the first half of 11 to take us up to Abraham. Well, next week it's just the reading of the Table of Nations. So, and I'll make a note to discuss the thing about the races, you know, that come from that. But again, that's just those listings of the genealogy to get to, you know, you get to the Tower of Babel, God scattering people throughout the earth, and through that scattering come different kinds of people. And from that, we're going to see Abraham coming from the family of his father Terah. Okay. So we'll get that. I think we'll get that far next week. That's my plan. That's always my plan. I'm just not a good planner. Yeah. I'm
We
sorry.
appreciate what you do.
Wait a minute. Hang on a second. What?
The sons of Noah,
Uh-huh.
and Ham was the father of Canaan.
He was what? The father of Canaan. Yeah, no, that's what we said. Oh, yeah. He who has an ear to hear, let him hear. I said, he who has an ear to hear, let him hear. Okay. Anyway, let's close with Lord's Prayer. Okay. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, glory, forever and ever. Amen. Very good. That was good.
Yeah.